There were many inventions throughout 1950, but three inventions that had the biggest impact were the credit card, the seatbelt, and the remote control. The concept of paying merchants using a card was invented in 1950 by Ralph Snyder and Frank X. This is a really major invention because it opened the door for paperless payments. Another major invention are the seatbelts. It was invented by an English engineer by the name of George Cayley, and it's important because it's a lifesaver, literally. In the year of 1956, a gadget known as the remote control was invented by Zenith Physics' Robert Adler. This is an important invention because it was very convenient and paved the way for universal remote controls. The general facts for the 1950s include the population, which was 151,684,000. The life expectancy for women, which was 71 years, and for men, 65 years. The average salary, rounded up, was about $3,000, and the labor force ratio between male to female was about 5 to 2. Medical discoveries. There were many important advances in medicine during the 1950s. First, there was the first human aorta transplant, then there was penicillin, cardiac pacemaker, and coronary angiography. Those are just a few of the most important medical discoveries.
The 1950s introduced a host of entertainment. Some popular movies of the 50s were Cinderella, Cheaper by the Dozen, 12 Angry Men, All About Eve, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, and Titanic. Much of these movies have been remade and today are known as classics. Popular actors of the 50s include Grace Kelly, known for her many roles and also appeared in High Society, Elizabeth Taylor, who appeared in the hit Giant, Jayne Mansfield, who appeared in Kiss Them For Me, James Dean, who also played alongside Elizabeth Taylor in the hit Giant, Marilyn Monroe, who appeared in Some Like It Hot, Thelma Ritter, who appeared in All About Eve, Dorothy Dandridge, who appeared in Tarzan's Peril, Ruby Dee, who appeared in St. Louis Blues, and John Wayne, who appeared in Island in the Sky. Popular radio shows include The Billy Cotton Band Show, Listen with Mother, X-1, Monitor, Amos and Andy, and Black Hawk Radio.
The malt shop era was a time when your favorite radio station was your own personal jukebox. The hits never stop. I mean, these songs sound even better today. They're timeless.
So I don't have to dream alone. Don't be cruel to who heart is true.
Tears on my pillow, pain in my heart, caused by you. I only have eyes for you.
The fads, fashion, and sports of the 1950s. Like every decade, the 50s had its own signature styles and trends. A few common slang phrases and terms were words such as cat, daddy-o, dolly, cool it, and what's cousin buzzin', which were amongst a slew of other catchy phrases.
Popular styles of the 50s were leather sweaters and jackets, poodle skirts, and most women only wore dresses and skirts. Women rocked the beehive and pin curls, which was known as poodle-style hair. Most men wore their hair greased and slicked back.
Two popular sports players of the 50s were Willie Mays and Bob Cousy. Willie Mays was born in California in 1951. He entered the Major League Baseball organization when he was 20 years old and was a player on the San Francisco Giants. He won Rookie of the Year and MVP for his outstanding stats as a baseball player. Bob Cousy, born in 1928, played in the NBA throughout the 50s decade into the early 60s for the Boston Celtics. In those years, he led his team to 6 championships, including 5 in a row. He also won Best Guard Ever and MVP.
A plethora of major events that undoubtedly shaped America's history took place during the 1950s. Thus, I would be remiss if I didn't begin with one of the greatest conflicts in world history, World War II. In 1951, President Truman signed a peace treaty with Japan, officially ending the U.S.'s ties to the war. To continue with important events, yes, the Playboy magazine debuted in 1953 with Marilyn Monroe as its cover, but in 1954, one of the most monumental court cases in U.S. history was Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas was decided on May 17, 1954 by the United States Supreme Court on a unanimous decision. This decided that public schools in the United States were no longer to be segregated, but that integration and equal education was a right that everyone deserved according to the Constitution of the United States. But just when we thought America had it all together, racism and unequal opportunity were far from gone. On July 25, 1955, a 13-year-old Chicago native was brutally murdered for allegedly whistling at a white woman in Mississippi while visiting family.
Emmett Till was 14 when he left Chicago to visit his family in the segregated South. On an August night in the Mississippi Delta, his cousin, Simeon Wright, watched as 2 white men dragged Till at gunpoint out of their bedroom. J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant had accused Till of making a pass at Bryant's wife, Carolyn.
He walked out with them as if, as a saying going, sheep to the slaughter.
3 days later, Till's body turned up in the Tallahatchie River. He had been so badly beaten that his mother demanded an open casket funeral so that people could see just what had been done to her son. An all-white jury acquitted Milam and Bryant, who later admitted they killed Till.
December 1st, 1955, another civil rights pioneer showed her face and literally stood her ground to inequality within the United States. Rosa Parks is responsible for one of the most well-known sit-ins in American history. After a long day at work, Ms. Parks did what no African American would have thought of doing. She refused her seat to a white woman on the city bus.
The 1950s had its own trademark of fashion trends and hip styles. Unfortunately, the injustices of racism was very real in our nation. The civil rights movement was at an all-time high. We did have our share of justice that would open up the doors of opportunity for all people. Radio and television took over the households of many and became a favorite pastime. But through everything that happened during the 50s, music prevailed, transformed, evolved, and touched the lives of many.
Ooh, ah, ooh, ah.